Hey, everybody. We're going to begin in about a minute here. Hey, Brandon. What's going on? Give me 1 second here, and then we can just start beginning. So, jump right into it here. So, you just want to start throwing them out, or I can get into it. Let me just start here. Just remove this text, throw this up here, and the one thing I'm going to tell people to look at this week early on. I'm just going to start here, and then just throw out ideas, and we'll go from there. But see how we're starting to hang in here. Let's really zoom in on this. This is the IWM, right? Symbols right here, but it's going to keep jumping around as I move. So unless I switch the color of the background, which I'm not really too keen on, but you keep trying and coming back down, and they keep walking us up. So here's that low right here. Then they walk us up here. And now they're walking us up here. And I'll move this one back a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. Right? So they're constantly walking us up. Now let's take a look at this. So you're walking me up. On top of that, you have a wedge line here, which you now are clearly through, right? And look how you're respecting that on the downside. You're not breaking it. And then you're trying to bounce through that. It's exactly what you want to say. It's exactly what you're looking for. Hey, Kevin. So that's exactly what you're looking for. It's exactly what you want to see. So I would expect this to continue, to try to get through. I've been avoiding it because I keep failing this point right here. See that point? 224.35. We keep failing it. We've hit it bonk, bonk, bonk. We've hit it 4 times, right? We just keep failing it. The fact that we went up when people were thinking there's a rate hike leads me to believe that maybe we're bottoming. And then you're starting to see signs of some of the small cap names show signs that maybe there's a bottom. Like, look at this name, right? Like there is a bounce here, right? Up to this. Now let's see what holds and what doesn't hold in the space. To me, the spaces still look awful, but they are starting to try to go higher. So take a look at that. But IWM is definitely something I'd watch. And one of the ways to trade that is this TNA. And it's going to basically mimic the IWM, and the move's going to be about 3x the size. So that's just something to consider. So, hey, Jordo. Yeah, I can do PFE. I like PFE a lot. So PFE, right? This was our key level right here. Let's go back and take a look at a couple things. Let's really look at this on a monthly chart because it's been around so long. So this was the pivot point that I looked at. And the reason I chose this pivot point was because that was the highest close that we've ever had on a monthly, which was right back here in June 2000. Okay. Fast forward 21 years of trading, right? And you can see what it's done, hardly anything, right? But now look at what's going on. So we can see this move higher. And for it to move higher, you've got to get through this level. You have to close above this 45.66, and it'll just grind higher. I mean, really, if you look at this, you see this shape right here? You're setting up a cup, right? And so you try, fail, comes back down, forms a wedge, and then breaks out. This is a monthly chart. So what I'm talking about could take 3 to 6 months. Like this is not going to just run right up like this all the time. This is running up from the breakout, obviously the Vax news, but you have to be really careful here, because this can just come right back down and sit. There's a lot of positivity into the VAX stocks now. I mean, they could still go higher, but a lot of the big move is over, in my opinion. For the short term, anyway, I want to say that. I think I'm going to rotate ETH with some of the Bitcoin trades. Yeah, I mean, I like that a lot. We have so many in stock lists in the community right now. I'm kind of putting them off. I can't even, you know what? Let's just go look at this because you can see it this way swing. It's just cleaner right now, especially after hours. So you basically ran right to where you would think that you would go, right? Here, let me just show you this. So here's the top of these wicks right here. And that's really where you went to. Now you're trying to hold that, right? You broke below it, and now you're trying to hold them close above that, and this bar closes in an hour and a half. So you're going to have to kind of see, maybe if we're still here, we'll take another look at it. You're going to have to see what you do here, and then you're going to have to see how the market acts tomorrow. And again, you have the CPI this week too, and that's going to have everybody on their toes. And now this infrastructure bill is stalling, and it's stalling because they don't know what they're going to do with cryptocurrency. So if they don't know what they're going to do with cryptocurrency, what's that going to do? Okay. Look, we went right to this and we stopped. So if they don't know what they're going to do with cryptocurrency and it halted, then now you have uncertainty. What happens with uncertainty? People sell these. So just something to consider. Bo, I mean, I talked about this tonight in the newsletter that went out. I mean, here's the thing. The job numbers were great, right? It's exactly what you want to see. Tech is down on the week. I don't know where tech's going to be on the week. It's a really good question because to me, these rotations where the XLK comes in are lasting what? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? Comes in. What did that coming in last? A month, right? 1, 2, 3. Like, I mean, you could see the pattern over and over and over again. So I'm not so sure that this is going to be a long drawn out thing for tech, but it could be weakness or just bobbing around until Wednesday and seeing how the market acts. Now, if you look at this, the XLE is not really breaking out, right? Okay, so people aren't buying energy. Okay, so that means that we're not seeing that level of inflation. What are they buying? They're buying yield. If you're going to raise rates, why are you buying yield? It doesn't make any sense. If you're going to raise rates, you don't buy yield, right? Here's the real estate sector. Hit a new high the other day. And you guys know which ones we're in, right? Like this from the REITs. So like at the end of this, the trade doesn't make any sense right now is what I'm saying. Financials should not be going up. Utilities do not go up in tandem with financials because higher rates, you don't want to own yield. You want to buy yield later. So I don't really have an answer to that. And it's really interesting to watch right now, Bo, but I really don't have an answer to it. Hey, Ro, let's do hymns. Let's get into it. So I really don't see sense in doing anything here. Do we have an earnings coming out or something? We have earnings lined up coming out this week. I mean, this time it came out with earnings and we sold down. This time it bottomed. So I don't have an answer for you. I'm not stepping in front of this on Wednesday before earnings. We're a new issue kind of, right? This has been around, but not really. So I would not be a huge buyer of this. I mean, could you bounce? Sure, you could bounce to the 21-day 880, or you could bounce up to 1074. But I just don't see the sense in getting involved 2-3 days before earnings. If I was in this, I would be somewhat concerned because if I break this, I'm going to really go down. Hey, you two. I like Ford, and I'll cover CRISP next. This is my opportunity when someone says Ford to show this chart. I mean, here you are in the daily, right, on Ford, and I can get these off these events, and look at that line, like it's beautiful. It just, every time it breaks out, what's it do? It rejects and it goes back in. So that's not something that we want to see, right? We want to see it breaking out and continuing to go out in huge volume. But you are starting to see one little change here that you haven't been seeing. And this is what it's helpful to identify pattern change, right? So lower, right? Lower low, lower low, lower low. What just happened, right? Higher low. So that's interesting. We haven't really had that before. Does that mean that this is going to hold? Possibly. You know, I mean, really, you should hold this level, but I don't know if we're going to or not. But you're in a wedge here. So you have to see what's going to happen. Now, I'll point this out as well. That's a 21-year base that we broke out of. So I don't see any sense in doing anything else except staying with this. I really don't. But you have to be looking long-term. This is going to be a grinder. So CRSP, it acted well on Friday, and then it just sold off. Look, you know, it's that kind of market. If you're not aware, like you're going to have light volume here. You're going to have breakouts and they're going to fail right now. Some are going to work, some are not. You're going to be really prone to breakouts Monday and Tuesday failing. Just be aware of that. So shorter term trade should be on the menu until the CPI comes out. Like you're definitely going to see more volume and more trading that way. But with that said, I would expect this to, you know, eventually get through this. I think this has enormous potential. Just absolutely enormous. So we'll see what happens with it. I'm really happy with the move over the 200 and now it went, but you're going to have to see how it plays out. We're really going to have to see how it plays out and kind of go from there. It's not something that I would chase, you know, not now. I would want to see it close above this level. I played around with this on Friday. I broke even on it by the time I was done. It was very disappointing. I expected follow through, try to get to this level. Didn't happen. So you just have to kind of sit. You have to sit, kind of watch and wait. Earnings are already out. They obviously crushed earnings. Must have been like a charge or something, or some type of one-time fee that they got, because that's a really big number. But I do like the stock a lot, and I think it's acting very well. Hey, Jamie. So let's do DMTK. DMTK. Hey, Anna. So, all right. So the 8 and the 21 are about to cross, right? My volume's picking up. I'm over my 200-day and closed above my 200-day twice, which I've done previously here. The biggest difference that you're seeing right now is this is a resistance line that I have here, and then you can see how it broke here, cleared it above here, right? Now let's get rid of these indicators. See how you're here and here and here. Like breaking above this is exactly what you wanted. That close is exactly what you wanted. You know, buying these kinds of stocks, when you buy them, you know, you're buying this level, right? And you see the breakout, right? You know, if you didn't see that before, now you do. But so I like the idea. Now, if you take that and you overlay the indicators with it, this is a pretty simple trade. Like you just buy it. Like this is how I would trade it if I wanted to be in this. Okay. I'd buy it over that 39.10 level, right? And then if I closed below the 50-day, I'd be out of the position. I wouldn't even play games with it, because when this breaks, it should go. It should fill all this in, right? That's what it should do, right? So that's how I would play the trade if I wanted to be in that one. Now, we can overlay some other things, because as you're basing, there's some other key factors that you could look at, right? You could look at RSI and see if RSI is in line. RSI is in line, right? We can see the break here, right? So RSI is in line. And then you could look at volume by price and get a sense of that. And volume by price is giving you some clues here. Okay, we might break through here, but we might have an issue here with point of control at 42, right? You see these shelves up here of volume. You want least supply when you're going through it, and you want huge supply when you're coming down for it to hold. So you have some work to do up here for the next 10 points. So that's going to be an issue. This is not going to, it might not move as fast in here because of all that volume in here. So that's why it's very good to look at this volume by price and look at point of control and really see where that's at. It's a very important characteristic of a chart. So FAS. Yep. Let's take a look at FAS. So FAS, clear breakout, right? Financial bulls, boom. It's crystal clear. The question becomes, if they start screwing around, like this is the issue with the financial trade. Okay. If you start screwing around with interest rates and they don't do something, if the CPI comes out on Wednesday and it shows no inflation, I'm just devil's advocate, right? Let's say that inflation comes in or it's not as strong as people think it is. Okay. Now what? Now what are we going to do? So that becomes a key issue that we really need to deal with. And that's something that we really have to think about and figure out what we're going to do about. So you're buying these things ahead of that number, right? You might want to just wait. I'm looking at some financial names and I see a couple I really like. One is just glaringly looks, really good, but I really think that you might want to wait. You might, or just look at it as a short-term trade, because when this, if this goes the other way, it's going to go like this, right? You're just going to come right back down. That's all you're going to do. And because I was looking at this one too, EPST, right? And you can see how you come right in here and then you rally right here and then boom, you go. So that's another one to consider, but it's definitely something for you to think about, but it's definitely another one to consider. I mean, it's got high octane when it goes, but it's actually got the highest octane out of all of them, in my opinion, when it goes. But when it turns on you, it turns fast. So you have to be really quick or you have a real issue. But you have to see this get to that 125 level. And I'd worry about what's going to happen on Wednesday. I'd be a little too concerned about that. ZI, yeah, let's do ZI. So, yeah, I mean, we broke out, you followed through. There's nothing really, if you're in this, stay in it. I mean, this did exactly what we wanted it to do. And it just was one that I didn't play properly, but this is when, look, this is earnings, right? And then they did the secondary, and the secondary the next day came to here and they priced that secondary. And then what happened after the secondary? It took off. So the time to buy this was the day they priced the secondary and seeing how it acted on that secondary, right? That was the day to buy it. Now you're just chasing it. So you can easily come back down to this 58 and 58.45 and what? You're still in that range. You're still in a positive state. You're 7 points higher, but you're still in a positive move. I don't want to be there. It's too high for me now. Oh, you're welcome, Kev. Do I think there'll be a 12% correction soon? It's been a while. I don't know why. Hey, TL, I don't know why we're saying 12%. But I don't see it. I mean, like, I don't see it at all. Here, look at this. Like, here, let's just look at let me just go through this one and I'll find this really quickly. I've got all these different things in here for this, but so let's just go through this. Okay. This is real estate. This is technology. Okay. Consumer discretionary, materials, financials. Okay. Which one of these is in a bear market? Which one of these looks remotely weak? Energy is about it, right? And it's still above the 200. Industrial still look good. Utilities are breaking out. So like, I don't see any signs of it whatsoever across the board, TL. Like, I don't see anything. And believe me, I look every single day for cracks, and I don't see a darn thing out there that would lead me to believe that. Even, what's going to do it? Interest rates. We all know interest rates are going up, right? I mean, we just don't know when, right? And this is the spot you saw the other day, and we rallied, right? This is when we were talking about it before. Up here, we got to 177. They're really going to raise rates this time. And then what happens? Okay, we're still below the 200-day on the 10-year. So I don't really see the whole hoopla. And even if you jump, who cares? So and we'll see how people position themselves. I mean, that is a double bottom most likely. If you get above this on the 10-year, just while we're talking about it, it might be a double bottom, and maybe we go sideways for a little bit on tech, but I don't see a huge correction coming at all. So, what's a good target to think about for NVIDIA for the options August 20th? I can just walk you through that and how I'd play it. I have an options position on in that, as well as equity, as I think that everybody, well, I don't know if everyone's aware of that or not. Now you are. This were the notes from tonight. It's not really that proprietary. I mean, the stock's going to hit new highs. It's just a question of when. I mean, you have a business, okay? You have a business where, and just look at this. You have a business where what, right? They have supply issues because they can't get enough product. They're raising their prices and they can't meet demand for the next 2 years. So like, what's not to like about it? Really, the only thing you're trading against is tech coming in, or you know what I mean? Is tech coming down or not? So that's really what you're trading against, nothing else. But from here, okay, I mean, if I was looking out, let's say I own the August 20s, right? This is how I would look at it. Okay, I would use a simple line like this, and I can draw this cleaner for you so you can see it. But what I would do is I'd use a simple line like this, nothing crazy, right? Keep it simple. And then just go, okay, I'm probably not getting past 230. Now, was there an existential thing that could happen that could change that? I'm glad you asked. Okay. We have earnings before the 20th. So I don't know where this is going on earnings in regards to options, right? It could go up 10%. Like here is muted, up, muted, right? Usually what they do with options on the video apparently is they keep it muted and they probably book they get the premiums. But you do have an options date coming up in here that or an expiration, and you do have earnings before that expiration. So you're going to have to be aware of that. My hope is that I'm up enough in those positions that I can hedge them and before the earnings. That's my hope. But we'll see. So I hope that's hopeful, Samar. If not, let me know. We can go over it more. NBR rolling. I don't know. Let's take a look. I don't know. NBR has rolled. The rolling is over. So let's go through this. Okay. Double top, tries to pop over. It can't. Like, look at this line. We don't really even need the indicators for this. So, okay. Tries to close over it. You think everything's fine and dandy, pops up over it, comes back down. Support becomes what? Resistance. Can't get over it. Starts breaking down. Lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low. There is no reason. I mean, I can put these in, but I mean, look where you're at. There's no reason. It's not rolling. It's rolled, and it's, look, this is going to move. It's going to move with energy. Okay. And right now that's not the space to be. There's really no other way to say it. And now you're building a bear flag. I mean, that's what you're doing. See this long pole right here? You're building a bear flag under your 200 day. There's no reason to be in this. So, again, is the economy opening or places opening up? Do they need oil? There's so many factors that can change here. But for me, I would watch this. Maybe if you broke this level and then pop through it, then maybe it could go. But if I was in it and I was trying to hang in there long term, if I broke that, I'd be gone. I would be gone. I would have been gone a long time ago. But frankly, if I'm still in it, the 75 level, and I'm out. So I hope that's helpful. I mean, kind of, not really. I don't really see that, Jen. I mean, I think that there's certain sectors that could look better than others, but I don't see stuff actually rolling. Yeah, they are going to affect it. I got into it tonight in the newsletter. I mean, I'll just go over it here a little bit, but yeah, they're definitely going to affect it. You have two things that are going to affect Bitcoin miners right now. Okay. There are two things that are going to affect Bitcoin miners that are out there. Okay. The first thing is the infrastructure bill, which just got halted. Okay. Because they're trying to figure out what to do with crypto. if they come out with something that says that Bitcoin and Ethereum are okay and Dogecoin is not, right? Like, I don't even understand exactly what they're trying to do, because they can't tell you to not create technology. So I don't really understand what they're going to do there. And I don't understand how they're even going to enforce it. But I think they're trying to get a handle on it and say, this is going to be around. This is not going to go anywhere. How do we tax it? How do we regulate it? That's what they're trying to figure out, right? But anything that they put in there that limits it so that you have to buy, right, one of these two, right, that you have to buy like Bitcoin, if you have to do that and you have to own one of them, okay, and this is the only one that we're going to say that you could that can be around, or they do that with Ethereum, right? Like any of that stuff is going to affect the prices of these, and by a large magnitude. It's one of the reasons why, like on Friday when we were talking in the community, why I threw that out there, and said this, like, hey, you might want to buy this over the weekend, and then we closed up like 5% by the end of the day, just because it seemed to me like they were going to run Bitcoin in these guys, and that's what they did. It seemed like they were going to run them into the weekend, and that's what they did. If you look at where you closed on the weekend, right? So you're back here. So I think we're okay here. I mean, look, I think you're in good shape. We have to see how it gets to the 200-day, but that's going to affect it. And the CPI is most certainly going to affect it. If we see inflationary signs, people are going to buy the cryptocurrencies. If we don't see inflationary signs, people are going to sell the cryptocurrencies. So yeah, it's risk on there. There's no question about it. Hey, Marty. That's a great question, by the way, Flem. So, hey, Nicholas, BNTX. So, we have earnings coming up, right? BNTX. So let's just forget about all this stuff for a moment. Okay. And let's just look at this. So, okay. On the 9th, tomorrow, BNTX earnings. So you have a couple things going on here that you're really going to have to watch. Okay, the very first thing is this. You have a wedge that you're building on a flag. So you could pop over this tomorrow and go in the earnings. I think it's very telling that these stocks are stopping in basically the same area, right? Like, yeah, it's 10 points, but it's 10 points on a $400 stock. Right? Like here you closed at 415. The next time you're closing at like 405, right? You see what I'm talking about? Like you're not falling off a cliff. So, but you have earnings coming up. So you're going to have to figure out if you're going to stay in it, depending upon how much you're up. If I was up in it from the newsletter, which I am, I'm staying in the trade. I'm not going to try and play around with it. I have such a cushion in it that it's worth it. What happens if it breaks out and goes? And this can go, like this can go up a lot. When people were trading MicroStrategy and didn't, it's 600 and said, oh, I can't believe this is it. I got to get out. It went to 1500. So like just looking at this, I'm just going to throw this in real quick and I can draw this actually better. You can actually draw this down to here, right? So to March, when you came out with the, hold on one second. Is that the March I want? Hold on. I want to go back to, come on. I don't know why. There we go. So I'll go back to here. So you get an understanding of that depth. So I'm just drawing these crudely for now. But what does that take me? 520? Like there's no reason that you can't get up there and flip that fib level on earnings. None. I mean, they're not going to miss earnings. Like we already know that, right? We already know they're selling the heck out of this. We already know that. So where's the bad news going to come in? Like, I just don't see it, but that doesn't mean that it can't sell down on good numbers. So that's how, I would, if I'm up in it, I would play it. I didn't cover them yet, Marty. I'll start covering them. So BTBT. So with BTBT, what we're seeing, right? To me, we were talking about this when we rejected at the 1950, 1902 level, came in, ran up, came back, and that was it. It rejected. And we talked about this a lot on Friday. Actually, we were watching this one pretty closely on Friday because we were talking about it since this break at $11. But see how you're up here, right? And then look, you form, I don't need these indicators and I don't need these events. So see how you're right here, you break, looks like it's going to go, fails, fails, fails. What happens? That's it. It's over. Boom. Okay. That's all you needed to see to know I'm done. This trade's done. And we could see it rejecting in here. You could already see the rejection, right? Wick, 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 right? So you could see him over and over again. So I think that that's pretty clear what's going on there. And, you know, so I didn't see value in buying this one on Friday at the close. I just thought it moved too much. It could still go higher, obviously, but you have to get through 1950. And then you're starting to look at some of these other key levels that we were pointing out that just happen to fall in fib levels as well. Like 25, you could get to 30, but you have to get through this 1950 first. So let's cover that one, and we'll cover HUT. So, I mean, to me, this one looks like it could go. This could break out. I mean, your next really important level is right here. That's 636 level. If you get through 636, you have a clear shot here at like 15% pretty quickly. I mean, you know, that's not a bad move, right? 640 to 740. I mean, like that's not a bad move at all. You know, that's a solid 15%. I mean, I'll do that all day long. That could happen, but you need to break through the 636 now. And obviously you have to get through that 615 level. And then I'd look at it. I expect these to be up tomorrow. Frankly, with the way Bitcoin's moving, I expect them all to be up. So, and there were, you know, they were trades that we were looking at on Friday, and this is why. I mean, I just thought that we would see a move like this, and we're saying it. CWH. So let's do that. I really like this company, and I'm a huge Marcus Lemonis fan. Just FYI, so I'm probably biased. I just like his style. So 4266, boom, breaks out, trying to break out of that flag. See everything turning and pointing up? Look, let's get rid of all this. Let's get rid of all the horizontal lines for a moment. Let's get rid of all this because we don't really need this anymore. Okay. And let's just get rid of this. So we're just going to look at price for a minute, right? So that's support. Okay. We came down to it on Friday, touched it, and then what? We just hung there. So if I broke that level, then you're probably going to fill this gap, right? Because that's really what you have to deal with. You have to deal with probabilities. So then you have to make a decision if you're willing to hold it to there or not. If not, when it breaks 41.73, that's it. That's enough. Now you can see this if we draw this, right? Okay. And you could see how you broke it and then you kind of wrote it down trying to break over it. And you couldn't. Then you finally did. And then what happened to that line? That line flipped from what? Resistance to support. And then boom, we broke out. What was it? Earnings. This can go higher. I mean, it can definitely go higher, but you have you have a lot of stuff you're going to have to work through, like here, 45. And I guarantee you, this will tell us a lot. So yeah, I mean, you were sitting there. So this job gets a lot easier as we go higher, which is what you want to see. So I don't see any reason why if you hold 41.73, you should easily be able to get to 45 and then start working your way back up to this 50. I mean, that's very reasonable. So look, more people are heading outside, you know, Camping World Holdings, more people are heading outside. Social media companies are talking about it and they're losing screen time. So it is happening. Let's keep going. So I hope that answers your question, Jordo. So do high growth small cap stocks need non-growth sectors like jets to do well because of IDM? They don't have to have them, but if the index is going to move, the value has to move. So if you want this to move, this is really hard to move if sectors like this aren't moving. Okay. Right. Like if jets aren't moving, IWM, like it's really hard for it to move. You know, if these kinds of companies aren't moving, the CCLs of the world, you know, you can almost see the pattern, right? How similar it is. It's very hard for them to move. You know, if Caesar's having an issue, It's, that whole space, casinos, hotels, all of that. If that's having a hard time, then you're going to have a hard time. And that's what you have to realize about the space. So you want them to stabilize and you want them to grind higher for the IWM to go. Yes. So, hey, Donnie, so let's do Tesla. So, okay, 726.97. You got to get through that level and then push over here. And you see, like, look at this. All that supply, it's going away. You can go right into the eights, like nothing. But you need to build first, and you're having issues in here. Now you're coming back and you keep testing that 700, and now you went through it on Friday. So how'd we close on Friday? Even lower than that. So you need to hold here, but you're sitting right on the 8-day. So we'll see what happens with it. I like it, but you'd have to see how it plays out. I do like it. I think you're eventually getting back to the highs. I don't think it's going to happen anytime. I don't think it's happening next week. I certainly don't think it's happening before the CPI number on Friday. So FCX, and let's get rid of some of this so that we can just kind of look at this a little cleaner. And let's zoom out and focus on this. So here's the old trend line. We left it in. And I always find this so interesting. Like, this is the trend line from before, from like months ago, right? You can see how it battled here, got through, got right to support or resistance, fails, comes back down, tests, bounce off. So you're trapped in between this line right now and here. If I put these indicators in, I don't need the trends, the indicators, you can see that too, right? You're almost trapped between the 50 and the 21, you could argue as well. So what's my hurry here? Well, if you look at this, I wouldn't be in a huge hurry here, right? You look at this. I mean, this bar is in charge, right? No matter what, this bar right here, the top of this is in charge. So you have to get through that in order to start this again, right? On FCX here, look at this. So, sorry, I got sidetracked for a moment. 40.97 is what you're looking for, and then kind of go from there. I really think that you should be a little concerned about this bar. It's not a full bearish engulfing, right? Because it doesn't really encapsulate the whole body. But I would still be concerned about that. So if inflation comes in and inflation prices come in, then copper is going to get hit. That's one way to look at it. So, CPI is going to have a great effect on that stock on Friday. You're welcome, Flim. UPWK. Hey, DJ. UPWK. So let's see what's going on here, right? So that's your weekly on it. That doesn't look too exciting, does it? That's not really warm and fuzzy. I mean, I can't get above that. What do these indicators look like for the weekly? I mean, that's not really lighting the world on fire either, right? So let's go look at the daily and see if there's something setting up for a bounce. And there is something setting up for a bounce. So since this began and this break here, what have we not done? Since we began with this break, what have we not done? We have not closed below this 200-day. We tried once here on a gap down, and now you're sitting on it. So this is a pretty simple trade. And what I would look for, which I really very rarely, well, I won't say rarely, I'll just do it this way. Yeah, I would be somewhat cautious here looking at this. But here's what I would focus on. You need to flip over this level. You need to show me that you're holding here. Because if this is one that you really want to buy, I think it came in on earnings, right? Yeah, ever since earnings, it just collapsed. If you roll and can get above that level from here, you're going to have a snapback rally to the 50-day pretty quickly, right? Because you're grossly oversold here. So that can happen. Now, the question is whether or not that does happen. If I close below the 50 or the 200-day and I was in this, I'd be gone. I wouldn't even be waiting. At the end of that day, no matter what that price was, I'd be out because we haven't done it since back here. So, but that was a great trade if you just traded off the 200-day, wasn't it? You bought it here in May. Now you're selling it up here at 40, right? I mean, it's a beautiful trade. So, but just keep that in mind. That's definitely something where I would be real cautious here, but I would be really cautious here if I break that level. So let's keep going. If you cannot afford a weekly, monthly option call X Amazon, which is just in or out of the money, can we buy way out of the money for sure that the stock is going to go up? It's just you're buying cheap options, right? So all you're doing is looking for something like, I'm going to leave this up for a minute because this is a really good question. And, so you're buying something based upon what you can afford, not what you think is going to be profitable, right? You know which ones you want to buy because they're profitable. They have a better chance of being profitable, but you can't afford them. So you're buying something else. So I would argue that no, you can't do that. You can do that, but I wouldn't do that. You have to realize something that when you're out of the money on weekly options and you come in Monday morning, just so you understand the math behind this, you come in Monday morning, this is where the stock is, right? By Friday on the weeklies, 75% of all the out of the monies on the weekly go worthless, calls and puts. Just use that as a statistic, right? So knowing that, no, I wouldn't do that. I would find another position to buy that I liked, that I could afford. Or what I would do is I would put myself in a position where I just buy the stock. If I could buy one share, I buy one share and leave it alone, and then go and just over time, just keep adding to it. But I would not be buying something out of the money solely because I could afford it. What you could do is buy the one that you want, and you can reach out to me on this. You can buy the one you want and just sell the call against it, right? And do it as a net debit spread. And if you can't afford it, the one pays for the other, and your margin requirements change. But we can go over that at another time. But if you're interested in that, just email me, rta@rtatrading.net. But I think you have that already. APPS, I mean, look, we've been dealing with that. Been dealing with this. And ever since it came out with that, oh, don't worry about our earnings, or don't worry about that Google getting into our business, or whatever the heck they came out and said, we've been staying away from this ever since June with that trade, right? Now look at it. Now we have earnings coming out. I'm not getting in front of that. It's sold down here on some kind of issue. You failed a downward trend line, right? You couldn't even get to the major one. And now you're riding the 200-day. Could it go? Absolutely. I'm not going anywhere near this before earnings. And all these people that are in right here that are holding, all these people that have bought for the past month, they're just rolling the dice. And that's fine. I mean, that some people do that and they're successful with it. That's not the way that I trade. But I would not be in this for earnings. And it can go up 10 points, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay missing it and going on to the next one. I do think that UPST is improving. I do feel that way. So I do think that it's improving. We tried to trade this once. We got stopped out of it. Look, you keep breaking up here, and then what's happening, right? To me, it's like there's kind of, let me just say the word playing instead. So this 139.41 level, right? See how you're sitting right there? And then you're going to break out and go higher. I mean, that's what you have to watch. You really have to watch that. Okay. Because like it's failed. We opened, we went higher, we closed below the open, and then we closed here. Like, to me, they're just trying to get us into the trade. Now, earnings are coming out this week. I'm not buying this before earnings. What if the way they're selling their mortgages, or selling their loans isn't working? I don't know. I mean, look, we just came out and this was that earnings date, right? Let me get rid of this since this is trade busted. This was that earnings date where we went from 57 and we just exploded, right? And this was another earnings date where we came out, right? And look at the difference in numbers. Came out, exploded, opened up. The high was the low. Next thing you know, we're back down here. rally up again, comes back down. Now we're in the next quarter. This is not a ride that I want to go for. So I'd be sitting on the sidelines waiting and seeing what happens with it. Jordo, not sure it makes sense, but it looks like it's already broke that wedge on the hourly chart. It does make a difference because you should be looking at that, right? Like if you're looking at that, Jordo, that's excellent. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be seeing if we already broke. And that's what you use. You kind of cycle through the charts, right? You start with the 15-minute and go, huh? Well, I need this to break on the daily, but how am I doing? Am I breaking? Oops, hold on. Right. So then you'd start here on the daily. Am I breaking? Yep, I broke here. Okay, then you go to the next, you go to the next point, 30-minute. Right. And you just keep looking. Did I break? Yep. Okay. Hourly. Right. You see where I'm going with this, right? Hopefully. Yep. Okay. So we know that breaking out of an hourly base is better than breaking out of what? A 15-minute and so forth and so forth. We know that the trend is stronger. So knowing that this is doing this, that leads me to believe that if we break out on the daily, that this has got the base behind it to work. So yeah, it does make a difference. It absolutely does. And you should be looking at that, Jordo. Any interest in AMAT here? I mean, Ro, I really do. I just, there's so many semiconductor stocks that just look exceptional. To me, that there's only so many that I could buy. And, they really, to me, like the whole index just looks like it's about ready to break out. I just keep coming up to this level and rejecting. So I don't see the hurry here. I'm more interested in waiting for this to settle down, find its bottom, blow everybody out of it, and then get back into this one, right? This has been a great trading vehicle for us last week and the week before. And I think it'll continue to be a great trading vehicle, right? It's a really tough one to add to the newsletter long-term. And the reason I say that is because it just does stuff like this, where you'll just base and look like you're going to break out and fail. And then, right. I mean, that's what it does, just like it did here. Like we think it's going to go, but it doesn't. That's just how the stock trades. So I wanted to get washed out, and then I'll gladly look at it. But AMAT in and of itself, to get back to the one you asked about, all I have are wicks, right? Wick. So what do I want to do here? Nothing. 146, I need to clear. There are others that the semiconductor space is just on fire. REMX. $720, rare earth, strategic metals, continues to just look amazing. I mean, there's not really much to say here. Like this space just looks really hot. It will get affected with inflation, though. So just keep that in mind. Inflation will play with that. So, but inflation will definitely play with that. It's something you have to just consider. Breaking above this 99.25 was huge, right? And you did that on the monthly. Look where this was. I'm not saying we're getting back to there anytime soon. I'm just, when you start breaking out on a monthly chart, you need to pay attention. Okay. And that's what this is doing, right? On every front, you're breaking out. So, and look at the volume coming into it. So definitely pay attention to it. Just thin. This is like the perfect thing to buy and forget that you own and leave into, like, an account, a longer term account, because it's so super thin. If you see copper outperforming, buy copper. I mean, if you want to own something, there's a really good book out. Well, it's been out for over decades, but there's a really good book out with Soros, and he talks about this. And really what he says is, if you want to buy oil, don't buy Exxon. And he's right, because you're trying to buy something that you think is going to work because something else is working. So don't buy the derivative, just buy the actual thing. And I would just buy copper if you think copper is going to go. I would definitely wait for, unless you want to gamble, because it's going to go one way or another pretty viciously. I don't know. ORGN. Let's take a look at it. ORGN. I'm not familiar. Origin Materials. Oof. I wouldn't go near this. I mean, I have no idea what's going on with it. Why we did this. Did we do that on earnings? No, you have an earnings date coming up. I don't know why we've gone from 14 to 5 and why we were here and now I don't know. I don't know the story. Um, Unless you have some fundamental reason why I need to be a buyer here. I, I mean, I'm not going near this. Let's take a look at this. Yeah. I mean, you're grossly oversold here. Right. And you are popping back. There's like a little trade that I'll do, and I should do an advanced RSI class, but um, this could go. I mean, you could see a dead cat bounce here for sure. So one of the things I go over in that RSI video is just how you control trend lines here. And you are breaking, right? And you do have volume coming in. So I don't know what I don't know anything about the company again, and I certainly don't know anything about this August 12th date that would make me want to buy a $5 stock ahead of it. But this is the type of thing where it can move. And what you really need to do first is see how you closed once above the 8-day since you broke. You would need to close above the 8-day before you even consider it. And then you have to just use this low as your stop and just be willing to lose the 50 cents or 70 cents on the trade. I mean, that's how you would do it. So yeah, I agree with that, Marty, 100%. You always make more money in the money. You're already in the money, and then you just work into the trade. Absolutely. That's fine, bro. I have some time here. I'm not in a huge hurry here. INMD. I mean, that's why we're doing this, to throw out ideas and kind of get in front of things. I like doing it. It's actually fun for me. So INMD, look at what's going on here. You're riding this trend line, right? I wouldn't go near it until I broke above it. Wouldn't touch it. Looks great, but I need to get above that trend line. So let's go. Mara versus Riot. Mara all day long, but the move might be too late, Marty. I think tomorrow is going to be a Mara kind of day. So I think the whole sector is going to be up. I mean, where'd we close on Bitcoin on Friday? It was like 40, right? 40, 41, right around there. So you're up about 7% on Bitcoin. So the stocks will at least have a 10% move tomorrow just on that, right? Maybe more. Who the heck knows? You just don't know. But you're seeing this and you're seeing the volume come into it. You know, we talked about this at 27, 28, you know, and now you're seeing that move. This was definitely the one that Fidelity was buying. They weren't buying Riot. And I'm having a heck of a time getting out of the gate here. Now, tomorrow I'll probably get out of the gate, but the two names there, the biggest names that I saw that made the most sense, this looks like it's just about to rip people's faces off. You have this enormous base here. And with this curling, like, you know, I know a lot of people were asking me for option plays on it, and the option spreads you could drive trucks through. So I avoid it. But if you can afford to buy the stock, we were looking at 730, you know, I think you're going to peg to 850, 878 pretty darn quickly here. This is setting up for a huge move. You know, Michael Saylor is a very hard person to bet against. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely huge short positions, but you have Fidelity actually taking a position in Mara, and I'm not actually sure why. Hey, buddy, what's going on? So, I don't know, John. Let's take a look at it. RRR. So I actually like this company, and I'm actually going to say this. Like, I'm surprised that this one is holding up so well, considering that the others don't look like this. So this is, and I understand it's different because it's more of a spa kind of place, but we both know where they're based. So you know, I mean, these others are collapsing. This is not, right. What's MGM doing? Right. So like none of them remotely look this good. I remember buying this back here when we broke because it was acting the strongest, and it's acting the strongest again. Here, look at this. So you're actually breaking out of that wedge. Now to use this and what you could do, I mean, this is a pretty interesting one. If the IWM runs tomorrow, this will go. And there's a chance that the IWM starts to get some legs here. If you got above 42 and 3/4, I could see why you would be interested in buying that. Now, if I was in this, okay, well, yeah, and I'm above the 50, yeah, I'd be all over this. This is one of the stronger names in the space for sure. So, I mean, you could use that as a stop if you're looking to try and stay in it longer term. But it's acting exceptionally well. Yeah, there's money one way or another. Win or lose, there's money. Um, when you are trading, do you do options or are you buying the stock individually in smaller quantities? I do both. I prefer stock because I like the liquidity way more. But sometimes there's just such an edge in an option trade that it's hard not to do the option trade. But I would prefer to just trade size in a particular name. So KLAC, I'm going to tell you right off the rip, that's on a short list of mine. And, you know, it's got to do one thing, right? I pointed it out there in that top 10 list. And right about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, it was on that one. The growth of the company is accelerating. And this is what's going on. So I think that this could have a 75% move. When this one moves, it moves. It's not like AMAT. Right. And they're both kind of in the same space. But when this one moves, it moves. You know, this is the other one that people are kind of trading around and is acting fairly well. And they're the ones that are supposed to have the deal with AMD. And you can see how this is acting. So for what that's worth. But I'm more interested in this than any of them. Any of these, like, you know, what we'll call equipment makers. And I really like it. I just needed to break through that 159.69 level. And I like the fact that it hasn't done it yet. And it's just consistently staying in that range and just being bought over and over and over again. Give me a huge base, stay there for a month. You know, then we'll come back to it. One day it'll go and we'll be in it. So, Donnie, I haven't been looking at SI. And there's no reason for me not looking at it. I just haven't. I've just been trying to play the other names. I mean, this is acting fairly well, but I'd be concerned by looking at this where my point of control was. So let's just start there because I don't know. So I'm above point of control and I'm sitting on volume by price VWAP. Get through this, but look at all this volume up here. I mean, you have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do through this. So, you know, I'm not a huge fan of it here. This is going to go tomorrow. I mean, this is going to be up tomorrow. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know that I'm buying it into that. Now, you could argue that getting through this little shelf, right, gets you into this wedge and can get you up to 140 just on the volume level, but it's not something that I would go near. I just don't like, there's just too much in here, too much volume for me. It's not as easy, right? So I'm looking for things that are somewhat easier, right? Like as I go up in this on Mara, look how easy this gets, right? So it doesn't get much easier as I keep climbing. So that was my, you know, that's my thought on it. And you can just look at them all and you kind of use this as kind of a gauge, right? You can kind of see if you flip a certain level where you're going to go. And that's on all of them. You can do that with. And it is pretty factual, like this. Like I'm saying that these are levels to worry about that I've got drawn all over the chart. But the bottom line is these levels get easier as I go up because there's no supply. So just keep that in mind. But SI, I think there's better names in the space. So CRM's got to break through that level. The issue with CRM is, and I say this, and I don't know why it's these particular types of software companies. The time to buy this, let me get rid of all these other indicators. The time to buy CRM is after earnings. You just give it a couple days, right? Here it is after earnings, breaking down. Earnings breaks down. Earnings are coming. What's going to happen? It's going to break down. I mean, the only time it didn't do that was this one where it went up monstrous, right? But I'm not buying this ahead of earnings with how many times it's broken down. And it does look like it's going to break, but you got to get through 251.23. And then you have to have the guts to want to hang in there for earnings, which are coming out when? August 25th. So, yeah, that's plenty of time for a trade. Do I have any ideas for HUT? Yeah, Samara, I went over it. I can go over it again real quick. So I actually think this one can actually work. See how you're breaking, bouncing, right? So you have to watch this tomorrow, but your first real key level obviously is 615. If I can't get over the wick of Friday, why am I in it? In regards to that, I would look at the 636 level, right? And you have to get over that hump. If I get through 636, you're probably getting the 770 fairly quickly. And that's the trade that I would be looking at. And then if you overlay the indicators, right? And you can see how the volume, look how the volume just goes away for us, which is exactly what we want. We don't want supply. You want supply down here, which is what we have now. And also look how the volume's increasing. See how your volume's increasing right here? So I like this one. I think this could work. And, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to look for stuff like that. Like, I really don't have huge volume spikes and a huge curve here on SI. And I'm not saying to buy small cap names, but I'm saying when you start seeing volume curl and accelerate, you need to pay attention to that. That's what you need to pay attention to. Robert, what do you got? Do you think Facebook rally sticks? People want to own the name. And we know with this, and I'm saying this for no other reason, and I'm not saying it's going to get better with another administration. We know there's no regulatory body that's going to bother them. They're not going to do anything. The administration wants them to do more, not less. So it's kind of crazy, but that's the biggest issue that they have, is facing regulatory issues. I don't know if you saw what happened in that space with Twitter and what happened with them in India, that they had to, set up a hotline. They had to do a lot of changes. It's a really interesting story. India's had enough. They labeled someone there in high in governments as a misleading post, and the government went crazy. So it's definitely something where it's an issue, but globally, regulatory, you could have an issue. US, I don't see you're going to have an issue. I don't see why people are not going to want to buy this. It's the behemoth. It really is. And it's just going to constantly keep earning. Now, they came out and said growth is going to slow. So, maybe not. I mean, maybe it doesn't keep going. I don't see the sense in buying it here, right? Like, what am I buying it here for? From 360 to 375? Like, what? I mean, for 12 points, like, there's a lot of other ways to make 3% on a trade. So it's not really very appealing to me here. If we sold down like massively and went to the 50-day, maybe you could look at it. But here, I wouldn't look at it. Hey, Emily. V and MMM. So let's look at V. He broke down, yet earnings, came in after earnings. I think buying it at the 50 days where you buy it. I think every institution and their sister is buying it at the 50-day. I really believe that. You're going to get support there. Even if you break it, you're going to get back there within a week or two. It is just a cash cow, and everybody wants to own it. It's just really that simple. They're just constantly building their base. So I think you're fine buying it. It depends on your time frame. If you're looking for a trade, the easy trade from here to here is 3 points. You're off of it, but it's just going to be a matter of time before it gets back up to here. I mean, it could take a month, but it's going to grind right back to the highs. It's just a matter of time. These kind of industrials kind of worry me. I kind of like leaving this volume by price in. And I'll just spread this out. You're having trouble staying above that line, and you're having trouble staying above all these moving averages, and they're starting to point down. So this is not something I'd be rushing into. Now, the VIX to me is dead, dude. I mean, like, let me see if I don't even know the symbol on this chart. So I don't know if that'll get me there or not on this particular chart system. So to me, this is just dead. I mean, there's nothing nothing here that is remote, right? That I need to concern myself with. Seriously, I'm not even remotely concerned about this. You're actually breaking a trend line. So I think people are grossly overestimating the chances of this whole thing falling apart and the market coming in. But we'll say usually when we're coming down like that, people are going to put risk on. NVIDIA, I think we did it earlier, but let's cover it. So you have earnings coming out, right? And you know that they're going to be good. We just don't know how the stock's going to act on it. So I really need to get through 208.49 now. Getting through that level, and I think you could do it this week. We have to see how it plays out, but I think it could happen this week. And I think you could trade up. You're going to trade to this 226 line. That's your first level of defense, right? Straight here. But I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, I like it probably more than any semiconductor longer term. NCTY. NCTY. No, I don't like this at all. So I have all this shelving in here that I got to deal with, and I got the 200-day here and the VWAP. I mean, get back to me when it's at 20. Other than that, I wouldn't play with this. Could it spike again and do one of these? Sure. I just don't see it. It's not something I would be involved with. You have a ton of stuff you have to work off. A ton. Can you explain this from Friday? I do think it could rebound. I think it pulled an IIPR. I could be wrong. I mean, people might have been selling that because they're saying that there is no inflation and we're going to sell down. But I mean, here's the bottom line. They crushed, right? They absolutely crushed. And here's the thing. Let's just go through this so we're on the same page. You understand this? Lost money, lost money, lost money, lost money, lost money, lost money. What happened this year? This quarter, we made money. So the first profitable quarter, and you're going to sell down? No, I don't buy it. I just don't buy it, because people that want to buy these kinds of companies, they wait for this first time for them to actually start making money. And that's when they don't care where the price is and they jump in. So to me, and you have to understand something too. Friday was kind of screwed up with it, with the market maker. So, and we see this sometimes. A little bit of this happened with IIPR, right? So, you get these names and they're a little thin, and then the market makers aren't ready, like here, right? This was one that it had good earnings. It's a REIT, but it had good earnings. But remember this wick, and then everyone's like, oh, the trade's over. It's done. It's, and then the next day we close at an all-time high. So do I think something like that's possible? I do. I have a position in this. So just FYI, keep that in mind. So I could be sounding biased on it. So let me just see something here. Okay. So what I really want to do is I want to see how it plays out. I'm in no hurry to sell my position. I have a stock and an option position. But what happened on Friday was this, and this is kind of important to understand. Okay. When this was all taking place, this was all because people were getting insanely bad fills, if they could even get filled on the stock. There were a bunch of people that were getting filled in here, and then all of a sudden they just were like, they couldn't get filled. So they all pulled their orders. Everybody pulls their order because they can't get filled. What happens? All of a sudden, the buy orders that he thinks he has for supply. So think like a market maker, right? All the buy orders he thinks he has for all the supply he just took in is now gone, because people are pissed because you couldn't place orders. I was trying to buy, it doesn't matter how much, but like I was trying to buy shares of it, right? And you couldn't get the order off. For whatever reason, there was just an imbalance. So it closes, and what happens? That's it. He's like, now he's got to dump it, right? So he had a bad day. Definitely the market maker had a bad day on this. So I think that possibly it could bounce. I think it sold down, basically couldn't even get to the gap fill to sell down, which was another good sign. Then we bounced back up to 350, closed at 345. You could be, you could keep going here. I don't see any reason for this to sell down. So we'll see. Yes, Em, anytime. SWCH. I mean, yeah, I mean, I would be a little concerned about the open and the low and breaking this level. If I break that 23.98 level, you're going to have to get out of that if you're in it. And the reason I say that, and what the reason I would use that as a stop, is because you could gap fill all the way down to here, and I would not want to be a party to that. And you needed to break out before you'd even consider buying it. You're welcome, Kevin. You're welcome, Sam. I have a huge, well, I mean, first off, let me just point this out. I have a huge position in this. It's a big position for me. I think we're going to break out. Now, I don't know what happens Wednesday. I never know what's going to happen. We can go take a look at that. And, the Sox to me looks like it's just going to absolutely explode, like right out of the rip. Like to me, it looks like we're getting back into this. I mean, people are just completely underestimating the lack of supply and demand out there for this. I mean, I think you're heading up to here, but let's go through what you're talking about. And let me get rid of this text and let me throw in the bands, but let's get rid of everything else, right? So we don't have any distractions. So, yeah, that's not a huge concern of mine yet. I see what you're saying. Like you broke out of the band, now you're back in the band. Yeah, I'm not overly concerned about that yet. If this happens, worst case, you revert back to the mean, which is back here. I mean, I definitely won't be in the trade if that happens, but I'm not sweating it yet. Sometimes this thing can bounce back up and keep going. You can see how many times it's done it over here. Over here, usually if you're out, you're out. And these indexes do follow this. Let's look at this on a weekly. And these indexes do follow it a little closer. But you're trying to break out here. I actually think you're going to go. But no, that doesn't overly concern me, but it is something that needs to be, monitored for sure. Thoughts on Hood? Yeah, I mean, I think that eventually everyone will get tired of it and move on to the next one like they just did with AMC. It's just a question of when. I don't know that this is done. I mean, look, they came out and they got everybody again. I mean, there's no other way to say it. They came out with a secondary when you're not supposed to come out with a secondary. They amended their filing and just stuck another 97 million shares out there. And so everybody that was trying to run it up, right, they just dumped stock right on them. I mean, that's what they did. And so it came in. So I don't know how it trades, honestly. I mean, to me, the very first thing that I would be looking at is, and you have to look at a smaller time frame chart. You need at least 30 data points. I mean, that's the very first thing that needs to happen is I have to break this line and then I have to get through 58. Most likely you're going to come back in here and fill this level. Now, we'll see what happens with it and we'll see how active people are going to be. You have to remember that the meme stocks and all these other stocks like this, they go up, right? And this was a real trade. People sold AMC and sold GME and bought this. It was a real trade by a lot of people. And when crypto starts moving again, that changes. They start playing crypto again and they stop playing the meme stocks. I mean, they just look to that to the people that are doing that. It's just a game, and it's fine. It is what it is. If you're making money, who cares how I don't care less how you're making money. If you're making money doing it, do it. But to me, you have to at least break that, and eventually, I think that this thing just goes away. Eventually, they're going to have an issue. They're not going to be able to get out of. That's just my opinion of them. I would not be using their services. So. What do you do with gold and silver here? It's interesting because to me, like gold, if you're going to go through an inflationary hedge, why is gold collapsing? If inflation is so rampant, why is gold collapsing? Like it's really hard to understand how the market's moving. And let's just go through this because and you should be using, when you're looking at commodities, you should be using these lines, in my opinion. So, right, if they fit, if it's like, if you're basing, not if you're basing, but so this breaking the 200 and the 50 crossing, it's not the best. You just crossed here to the upside. Now you're going to cross to the downside. I mean, for those that want to know, that's called a death cross. Like that's not good stuff. Last time that happened was here, and look what happened. So that's not good. So I would be concerned if I own gold, because look at this. There's your trend line, and you broke right through that trend line. I don't know how much further this trend line goes back. TL. I don't know if it goes to here or not. Yeah, I mean, there's another trend line. Perfect. So, you need to hold here. And if you don't, you're going to have a real issue. Silver, I've been talking to, people have been in the silver trade, silver bugs forever. Everyone keeps talking about the physical gold that's out there is different than this. There's 10 times more of this than physical gold. Go buy physical gold or physical silver. Go buy physical silver, because this isn't working. Like, this trade's it's just not working. No matter how you want to play it and talk about it, right? Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. This is going lower, right? This is going here, right? You're at least going to 21. So I don't like the trade. Now, could the trade get some juice if you had a good CPI number? Maybe. But to me, it would just be trade out of them. Snap. Or let me do the MVST. Francisco, do you want me to do ETH, meaning you want me to do Ethan Allen, or do you want me to do Ethereum? Because ETH is Ethan Allen, which I'm more than happy to do. Let's do MVST. So here you are with MVST, and I know people love this name for whatever reason, but I would be really cautious here. I open, I run up, right? Where did we run up to? Funny how technical analysis works, right? Boom. Couldn't break out and hold. Flips the level. Looks like we're going to go back through it. And now here we are again. I open, I test this level. I reject that level. I come back down. I close below my open, and I'm into the gap. There's absolutely no reason to get involved in this. The indicators are going to look awful. I knew it before I pressed the button. I mean, he even closed the 200-day. Like, you can't make this up. I would avoid this. I'd completely avoid this. Snap I like. Didn't do what I wanted to do on Friday, but Snap I like. It kind of failed here. I ran up, I opened, I ran up and went from there. Now I have this little inverted hammer. If I break this lower low, it might be something that you wait and get back into. That might be a reason to just simply get out of the trade. If I break a lower low, because if I break this lower low, if you're in this, right? I have this in the newsletter, and we were up on it Friday or Thursday. Now we're break even on it. But if I break this level right here, right, this 32 level and lose $1, that might be it, instead of just waiting for this 73 level. We really have to see how it plays out. But this is definitely going to be a bad sign if we close below the 8, especially since you're up here and you're basing. That's not really what you want to see. So, you're welcome, Kev. So, yeah, I know. Ethan Allen came out and said they have to change the stock. So I'll do both, Francisco. I'll do ETH. So, and then we'll go from there. So, yeah, they're changing their symbol. It's kind of funny. So I think that if you look at this, right, if you're interested in this, you have to realize how many people have bought this thinking they own what? Ethereum. And it's real. And now you have this wedge line here. And, if you look at this, go look at StockTwits and Twitter data, and you can see the top 5 symbols that are being traded. Okay, this is one of them, because people think they're buying Ethereum. So to me, if I was really interested in this, I'd need to get above that 200-day and that 21-day, and then I could take a look at it. To look at ETH USD, Ethereum. So I mentioned this on Friday, and I'll just recap it. You had to get above 3,000. You've done that. You're sitting right on that level. You broke out, and then you've come back down. I think it's fine. I think it looks fine. To me, I've been saying this for some time. I mean, if I was going to buy one of these, this is the one that I would buy. I mean, you already from support line, if you want to just look at the difference in percentage move, right? You're up 78% on this one versus what are you up in the other one? So in Bitcoin, you're not up anywhere near that. So there's one that's worth playing, in my opinion. The issue with Bitcoin now is that if it goes from 44 to 50, you make 10%. You can do that in the stock. So, I mean, it's great for people that are in there, substantially cheaper, but Tesla and BA. Tesla, I did already. I'll do it again. And then I'm going to wrap this up with what I have in the queue. So Tesla, you got to break through this 726.94. And I don't like that you close below this 700, right? I don't like that. I do think you're heading higher, but I don't like this close on Friday at all. I don't like how it acted at all on Friday. Not a fan. It should have at least held its ground a little bit better than it did. So I would just be a little concerned there. BA is the next one you want to go over. You're going to have to wait for Tesla to really break through that 727 level, or just wait. BA, I don't personally buy this stock because it always has negative news. I would argue that the fact that it can't get above this level is very interesting, that it never got back. A lot of these stocks got back to that level. You need to hold this. Like, you really need to hold this 200-day. You need to hold this whole level. And before I'd even consider buying it, you must get above this 50-day, because this is a large cap industrial stock. And the only people that are really buying this to hold on to it are institutions that want to have a stake in this company. And that's not going to be anybody at this level. No one. So you have to think like that. Let's just keep going. SHW, AMD. So SHW, Sherwin-Williams is just on fire. I mean, I don't know who's the painting is just going through the roof, I guess. Is that a dad joke? Painting roof. But look at that, 293, right? Like, it's beautiful. It should just keep going. Like, here. $313. You should easily be able to get there. This is really nice. I like that a lot. So AMD, EXPR, I think I looked at. I'll look at it again. AMD, you just have to wait. You really have to wait here. You're rejecting this fib level up here, right? You're going to go to this 8-day. You have to see if you hold that. You have the CPI coming out this week. If tech gets hit, this will get hit. It's way off its base. Here's your base. So you really just need to sit, watch, and wait. And this is pretty much an exhaustive gap. It's telling, or an exhaustive move. I apologize. There's no gap. This is an exhaustive move. So we have to see what happens with that. I wouldn't be in a hurry there. I certainly wouldn't be buying options. EXPR. So 575, you're sitting right on it. Got to get through that. Get through this 575. We've been watching this. But this is curling right. Everything's curling right on here. 21 in the 8 are crossing. You're above the 50. This looks good. You just have to get through that level. Where are we at with volume? No, your volume's awful. But you got to get through 575 before you do anything. So I just did Tesla. You're welcome, Samara. So let's do TTD. All right, I'm going to do TTD, RBX, and Real and get out, and then that's it. I got to wrap it up. I got to prepare for tomorrow. TTD, I like. It's one that's a fan favorite of mine. I felt like it would grind up to here. This gap up changed the whole trade for me. And that was the buy. And now look at it, right? You have to get up and close over 86, but you have an issue coming. You have earnings tomorrow. So I don't know that I'm buying this in front of earnings, with this last earnings event being an unmitigated disaster. So I'm not so sure that I want to be stepping in front of that train. So that's the first one. RBLX. So here with RBLX, you tried to break out. Everybody got all giddy and excited, and you failed both lines. Just continue to avoid. You're in a bear flag, right? And where are you with the indicators? And you're below all your indicators. So I would not go near that. Real, you just need to avoid. I'm going to be real with you on this one, Anna. Get it? So another dad joke. That one was awful. Look at this. Like, for what purpose are we buying this? Right? Lower, low, lower, or I'm sorry, lower, high, lower, high, lower, high. And now I'm forming an enormous, H. I don't want to go anywhere near this. Okay. When are earnings? I most certainly do not want to go anywhere near this before earnings. They could have good earnings, right? Like, because they're kind of in the same spaces, like RVLV, kind of, right? But I would argue that you're better off buying RVLV if it breaks out, since it's already come out with earnings and blown up. So that's it in a nutshell. As always, just reach out to me if you need me, and we'll go from there. Everyone have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for the pre-market show.